Now, I don't truly understand what's happening to men anymore. And I don't mean that in some chest thumping alpha male way. I mean, genuinely, I don't understand what the hell is going on. I look around and I see guys in their 20s and 30s, even 40s, and they're lost. They're completely lost. And nobody wants to talk about it because the minute you bring up men's issues, everyone just assumes that you're some kind of misogynistic asshole who wants to go back to the 50s. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a bunch of guys who don't even know what they're supposed to be anymore. They don't know what their role is or what's expected of them or what they're allowed to want or even what they're allowed to say. And I watch these young men and they're walking around out there, man, and it's like they're apologizing for simply existing. Like being a man is nowadays something to be ashamed of. And people, that's not healthy. It's not normal. And it damn sure isn't sustainable. I mean, you've even got guys out here who are afraid to approach women because they're scared they might be seen as a predator. And they're afraid to be competitive because they might be seen as toxic. And there are even guys out there who are afraid to show any kind of strength or leadership because they might be viewed as being oppressive. So what do? A lot of them, man, they just check out or go off the grid, so to speak. They're retreating to video games or porn or social media, or anything that keeps them from having to deal with the real world. Because to these guys, man, and the world feels like walking through a minefield. Every step might blow up in their face. And then we wonder why so many men are depressed, why they're killing themselves at higher rates, and why they're not getting married anymore or having kids or hell, even pursuing careers with any real passion or vigor. And you want to know what I think happened? I think we went and threw out all the bad parts of traditional masculinity, and we should have. Because I agree, some of that stuff, man, was generally, it was harmful. But we threw out all the good parts too. We threw out purpose and responsibility and the idea that men should be protectors and providers and leaders in their communities. Problem is, we never replaced it with anything. We just told all those guys, man, figure it out on your own. And then we get mad when they couldn't. So now what we have is a bunch of guys who have no idea how to fix anything, build anything, or lead anyone. Because they've been told their whole entire lives that those qualities don't matter anymore, that they're outdated, that wanting to be strong or capable or useful is problematic. But the reality is, deep down, men need to feel useful. They need to feel like they have a purpose, like they're contributing something, like they matter. And if society doesn't give them a healthy way to feel that, then they're going to find unhealthy ways too. We've got a whole generation of men who followed all the rules and they worked hard, man, and they stayed loyal to their companies and they provided for their families. And they did everything that was asked of them and that they were supposed to do. Yet, what happened to them? They turn around and get laid off after 30 years and pensions disappear and the skills that they worked their whole lives to attain, now they're suddenly labeled as outdated. And the companies that they built with their very own hands backstabbed them and shipped their jobs overseas and told them to learn code. So now you got a lot of 50-year-old guys out here who helped build this country, man, who can't even afford to live in it anymore. And then when they complain about it, they get told they're privileged. And when they finally get to that point where they drop their pride and ask for help, they get told to check their privilege. How is that supposed to make them feel? And it's not just the older guys either. The young ones, oh, they're watching all this happen, man. They're observing this. And they're thinking, hell, why should I even try? Why should I work hard if hard work doesn't get rewarded? And why should I be loyal, hell, if loyalty isn't returned anymore? And why in the hell should I try to build something if it's just going to get taken away in the end? So you just give up. You stop trying. And then we act surprised when they're angry and bitter and looking for someone to blame. You see, we used to have places where men could go connect with other men. Unions and churches and neighborhood groups and places where they could just go and talk to other men, to share their struggles and figure it out all together. Unfortunately, most of that's gone now. And then we wonder why men are isolated and why they don't have friends, why they don't know how to process their emotions or hell, even ask for help. We went and destroyed their support systems, and then we blame them for not handling things better. And I see these guys, man, I really do. And they're desperate for direction. They're desperate for someone to tell them it's okay to be strong, that it's okay to want to protect people, and it's okay to want to build something with your very hands and feel a sense of pride about it. But instead of that, what do they get? They get a lot of lip and lectures about privilege and toxicity. And then we act surprised when they stop listening to us and start listening to someone else, and they stop communicating with us. And look, I get it. We needed to have that conversation about toxic masculinity because some of the old ways of being a man, they were destructive and somewhat harmful. But in essence, people, what we did was we threw out the baby with the bathwater. We were so busy telling men what they couldn't be, what they shouldn't be, and what was wrong with them. We never gave them anything to replace that with. We never said, look, here's what being a good man looks like. We just told them, stop being that. And you wonder why young men are lost. You wonder why they're angry and confused and turning to all the wrong places for guidance. You see, when you tell someone that their entire identity is wrong, but you don't give them anything to go for, to build a new one with, what did you think was going to happen? Because you can't build an identity on what you're not supposed to do. You need something to aspire to, something to work towards, something that makes you feel like your life has meaning and purpose. And right now, in today's society, a whole lot of men don't have that. And it's killing them, literally. The suicide rates and depression rates and addiction rates, they've all gone up dramatically. And instead of asking, what are we doing wrong? We just keep doubling down on telling them they're the problem. And that's not working, people. It's obviously not working. Because the men aren't getting any better, they're getting worse. And until we figured out how to give men a positive vision of what masculinity can be, not what it shouldn't be, but what it should be, this situation is only going to get worse. Because here's the hard truth. Men built this world. They built the roads and the bridges and the buildings and the infrastructure that we all depend on. They fought the wars and they worked the dangerous jobs. They sacrificed their bodies and their lives to create the civilization that we all benefit from till this very day. But here we sit telling them now that none of this matters anymore, that they're disposable, that their contributions don't count anymore, and that they should somehow be grateful for the opportunities to step aside, let somebody else step in and take over. Is it any wonder why they feel invisible? And look, I'm not saying that we should go back to some imaginary golden age where everything was perfect in the country. It wasn't. We've always had real problems with the old ways, and they need to be fixed. But throwing out everything that gave men a sense of purpose and meaning, that definitely wasn't the answer. We need to find a way to keep the good parts of what it meant to be a man while getting rid of the actually harmful stuff. But we need to give men something to work towards, something to be proud of again, something that makes them feel like they matter again. Because right now, they definitely don't feel like they matter. They feel disposable. They feel forgotten. They feel invisible. And they feel used. And that's not good for anybody. I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and talk about this epidemic that I'm seeing out there. The lost male epidemic, I like to call it, where guys don't know who they are, what they are, where they belong. They don't know their place. And a lot of them don't see a future for themselves in this country. And being lost with no direction, man, it's got to be hard. And they're not getting any direction from the older guys, but hell, nowadays, most of us are just as lost as they are. Because what we once believed, we've been told that it's no longer acceptable. So yeah, I get it. And maybe that's why I choose solitude over dealing with anybody. But these younger guys, man, where do they turn? Who do they look up to, or where do they go for guidance? And like a lot of those places are gone, man. But at any rate, I just wanted to come on here and run my mouth about this because this is something that's got to be fixed. It's got to be addressed sooner or later because it's only getting worse. It's sort of like a disease. The longer we let it go untreated, the worse it's going to get, the harder it's going to be to cure. I don't know. I just don't remember when being a man was a problem. At a certain time period, it was actually admired and looked up to and expected. Not nowadays. But hey, at any rate, like I said, I wanted to come on here and address this. If you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions, anything you want to add, debate, whatever, drop them down in the comments and let's talk about them. You know, I'm always open to new ideas. I think that two heads are always better than one, and maybe we can come up with some ideas or direction or, I don't know, a new plan of work. But at any rate, I'm Unc, and as always, hey, you guys, take care of yourself and each other out there, man. It's getting worse out there. But at any rate, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.